Throughout the day, you never saw a cloud in the sky. And the thing that stood out most to me was how blue the sky was that day for a Tuesday morning.
September 11th, 2001.
I remember the day like it was yesterday.
Plane has crashed into one of the towers of the World Trade Center.
America under attack.
I picked up the phone, and he said to me, "Terry, an airplane has hit the building." And I never saw him or spoke to him again.
We heard the pancaking, and the building came down. I didn't think it would collapse on top of us.
There was a huge fireball, and when it was all said and done, I couldn't find him. Why me? Why did I make it out? Why didn't he make it out?
20 years after the 9/11 attacks, are we safer?
Well, we're definitely safer against a large-scale international terrorist attack.
2 decades fighting the terror threat. What our sacrifice has and has not achieved.
We knew that Afghanistan's only going to change so much. And now it's like, was it worth it?
Americans vowing to never forget and always honor 9/11.
The story of 9/11 allows us to see the worst in humanity turn into the best in humanity.
Now a special presentation, 9/11, always remember.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Megan West.
And I'm Keegan Fox. September 11th, 2001 was a single day that changed lives all across the world. People remember exactly where they were as they learned airplanes had crashed into the Twin Towers at the World Trade Center in New York City.
And that was just the beginning. The World Trade Center became known as Ground Zero in the attack on America. The Pentagon also targeted, and a field in Somerset County, Pennsylvania became the first battle site in the war against terrorism.
Since then, all 3 locations have become home to living memorials. Maria Stefanos shows us and delivers a message from survivors and families.
In the middle of sprawling, busy New York City lies 8 acres of hallowed ground. The National 9/11 Memorial, a tribute to those who were lost but never forgotten.
It's emotional. I lost my father when I was 4. My father was 38 years old, worked in the North Tower of the World Trade Center.
Amy Hargrave's father, TJ, is memorialized in the bronze edges that surround 2 large pools sitting in the footprints of what were the North and South Towers of the World Trade Center. Nearly 3,000 names are cut into the bronze, honoring each of the 2,977 people, loved ones, who died here, at the Pentagon, and in Pennsylvania on September 11th, 2001.
His hugs. That is one thing that will always stick in my brain is his hugs, and he had the biggest hugs. He was always the last to let go.
September 11th was a day that changed everything about life. A day of loss and courage we will always remember. A day that still replays in the minds of those who experienced it.
We're supposed to go to LA, and the cockpit's not answering their phone. I don't know. I think we're getting hijacked. This is Flight 11.
8:19 a.m., Betty Ong, a flight attendant aboard American Airlines Flight 11, calls the airline reservation desk saying they've been hijacked. 27 minutes later, 8:46 a.m., her plane, heading to California from Boston, crashes into the North Tower. At 9:03 a.m., the South Tower is hit by hijackers on board another Boston to California plane, United Flight 175. American Flight 77 from Dulles in Washington, D.C., crashes into the Pentagon at 9:37 a.m.
We talked to a woman who lives right near the crash scene. She tells us she saw a plane, a jet, flying along and then make a sharp downward turn.
Less than 30 minutes later, a 4th airliner goes down in a field near Shanksville, Pennsylvania. United Flight 93 was hijacked after taking off from Newark Airport in New Jersey. Investigators believe its target was the White House or the U.S. Capitol building, but the passengers and crew unleashed their own assault on the hijackers. The plane crashed in the midst of the battle. The horror of the attacks wasn't over. At 9:59 and 10:28, the Twin Towers, standing strong for 3 decades, collapsed, trapping and killing workers, bystanders, and the first responders who went running toward the danger.
It was chaos on the street, just a lot of fire and things burning and people were screaming, running, and it was just chaos. Tough to deal with. Still think about it.
Emmett Mackin got to the World Trade Center after the second plane, United 175, struck the second tower. Mackin, a 26-year-old rookie NYPD officer, just 3 months out of the academy.
I've never spoken publicly about it.
He and a few other officers began evacuating people in an underground shopping concourse beneath the South Tower.
The lights flickered and went off, and the South Tower collapsed on top of us. So I just got thrown like, 20, 30, 40 feet or somewhere around there. That's what it felt like. But, your heart sank. We're like, we'll never get out of here, Thankfully, that area held up after the collapse, and we were able to make our way to a staircase, and that was open. We saw some sunlight finally, and able to get out that way. And this picture is after all of that, and we kind of came back just looking for each other.
Mackin, now a police sergeant in New Hampshire, was also captured in this photo, helping carry a badly burned woman to a medical team.
She actually passed away 3 or 4 days later. I didn't know that till 2019, so it was a little bit of a shock to find out. I kind of always thought, hope for the best.
That woman joining a list of loss Mackin suffered, including his cousin, Mikey Armstrong, who worked in the towers, friends he grew up with, and fellow first responders.
My buddy Sean Talon, who was in Ladder 10, firefighter. Mikey Brennan, the fireman. Sean McNulty, he was in finance, working in the buildings. Said, it took the good people. It took the good guys. Where's the sense in that?
20 years is a long time. And I'm only 25 years old. I've lived most of my life without my mom, but I don't forget her. I remember that whole day, just everyone being very upset and not really knowing what to say to my brother and I, until my dad eventually had to tell us what happened.
Anna Sweeney was in kindergarten when her mother, Madeline Amy Sweeney, died on September 11th.
What do you remember about your mom?
As a kid, I remember her being so fun, wanting to bring my brother and I everywhere, do all kinds of things.
Do you think about her every day?
I do. And keeping her memory alive, for me at least, is just constantly looking at pictures.
Amy Sweeney was a flight attendant on American Flight 11. Even in the face of terror, like so many people that day, she took heroic action.
Rather than just calling her family again for one last goodbye or calling anyone else really, she made a phone call to Logan Airport, reported the seat numbers of the hijackers, and gave critical information to the FBI. And that's something that I'm very proud of and that I look up to a lot.
Patty and I split for our offices. She was getting ready for a meeting. She went to the first floor, I went to the second floor.
Kathy Dilleber remembers every detail the morning of September 11th. She and her baby sister, Patty Dilleber Mickley, were both Pentagon employees. They met up and talked in the center courtyard a little after 9 a.m.
I said to Patty, don't forget to carry your purse with you today, because we heard what happened. We heard and saw on the television what happened in New York. And we didn't think we had any concerns here, but just in case, we've never had an evacuation.
Kathy and Patty returned to their offices not too far from each other in the same Pentagon corridor.
And then all of a sudden, I heard a loud sound. I didn't know what it was. I thought it might be a bomb. And I had to go back and call Patty, make sure she was okay.
But Kathy was stopped before she could get to a phone. As she was evacuated, she passed the long hallway leading to Patty's office.
I didn't see any fire or smoke, so I thought, oh good, Patty's gotten out.
Outside, Kathy searched but couldn't find Patty. Kathy eventually walked home with coworkers. She went to Patty's house, waiting for her to arrive. That night, she finally learned the extent of the damage at the Pentagon.
And I remember I was laying on the couch and there in their den. And I looked at the television and I said, oh my gosh, the Pentagon's on fire. I didn't know. I didn't know what happened.
Hopeful Patty was okay, Kathy returned to the Pentagon the next day and connected with a family support team.
I said, I can't find my sister. Can you help me?
Every day she went back. 9 days later, on Thursday, September 20th, the words Kathy feared.
The head of her organization came to report that Patty was one of the victims. So I kind of knew, but
20 years later, Kathy spends a lot of her time here at the Pentagon Memorial, volunteering, making sure people remember.
I worked with the Pentagon Memorial Fund that created this beautiful memorial that we have here.
184 memorial benches, each with a reflecting pool and a name, in honor of the 59 people on Flight 77, Patty, and the 124 other civilians and military members who died at the Pentagon.
In honor of those that were lost.
The plane wasn't supposed to be here. It was supposed to go to Washington, D.C. There was no one from Western Pennsylvania on the plane. Yet it happened here. It happened in Somerset County, Pennsylvania.
In a quiet Pennsylvania field, 160 miles from the Pentagon and 300 miles from New York City, there is a massive tribute to 40 heroes.
It's a very American thing. They came together and they took a vote. You know there were people on board who were nervous. Nobody knew, the right thing to do, and we can never know all their stories.
Tom McMillan is an ambassador at the sprawling 2,000-acre Flight 93 Memorial.
The boulder out there marks the approximate location of the crash site.
United Flight 93 crashed here amid a struggle for control of the plane. The 40 passengers and crew calling loved ones from the plane's seatback phones and learning about the terrorist plot unfolding. Many consider their fight the first battle in the war against terror.
You're actually walking very close to the ground where it happened, and you walk down the flight path, and you can look up and envision the plane coming over that hill and trying to transport yourself back to that morning in this open field.
Along that final flight path is the Wall of Names, 40 marble stones inscribed with the names of each passenger and crew member. The 93-foot tall Tower of Voices chimes in the wind, and that boulder marking the crash site is off limits to the public. This access gate opens only for family members.
I don't look at the 5th, the 10th, or the 20th anniversary. They're all the same to me. The milestone, he's just not here.
Ken Nackey's older brother, Joey Nackey, was one of the Flight 93 passengers. Joey was the guardian of the family who always put others first.
Give you the shirt off his back or his last dollar. I'd give anything to have Joey back in this world, because the world is not a better place without him and the 39 other passengers and crew member aboard Flight 93. But I think the world is now a little bit safer based on their actions.
20 years later, the compassion and gratitude for the sacrifices on 9/11 hasn't faded.
They gave their lives so we can live our lives like it's September 10th. And that's how we live. We should live like it's September 10th, 01, instead of letting the terrorists win and keeping us in fear of living our lives.
I've never heard a story where she wasn't doing something for somebody else or something that benefited someone in another way. Do something nice for somebody. Just be kind to somebody.
It means taking care of others, moving forward. It means never forget.
When the worst happened, people did great things, did the right things, and helped. It's 20 years ago now. It's history. It's something that we should remember. It's changed all of our lives in this country.
The memorial in New York City actually contains 2,983 names honoring all those lost on 9/11, plus the 6 people killed in a 1993 bombing at the World Trade Center.
20 years later, so many families that lost loved ones still don't have closure.
Normally, when these things happen, you have rites of passage or rituals, but we kind of had to create our own path.
The reasons 1/3 of those killed in New York remain unidentified, and the tireless work to change that. Plus,
I felt that if my son was looking down on me, I was telling him that I loved him.
a father's messages to his son as he held out hope he survived, the comfort he finds now in this memorial built from the towers.